Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shadi5 for those that don't know me, and today's video is focused on what you need to inspect when you're visiting a home for the first time. So we're going to break this video down into 5 main components: roofing, electrical, plumbing, windows, and foundation. Those are the top things that you really need to look for, and we're going to break that down right now. When it comes to roofing, when you're first walking up to the home, what you need to really pay attention for is the condition of the shingles. When you look at the roof up top, you'll notice that shingles that are really need to be changed will start to kind of curl up, or they'll have a very mossy texture above it, where you know that condensation has been developing over time. So a lot of the times in a roof, it doesn't necessarily mean the whole roof will be damaged, but there may be parts that you really need to pay attention to. For example, when you're looking around the house, take a good look at what is near the house, such as trees. Trees are a really big factor when it comes to roofs, because a lot of the times they will have leaves that develop, and this causes for a moisture buildup over the years when it's not maintained. So when you're coming into the home, what you also need to look for is staining. Staining is also an indication of water damage, and you might see that in different areas of the home. This could be just very light colored or very obvious. It could be anywhere from closets to kitchens to anywhere, so keep your eyes focused on above as well. And many people just look actually at ground level, but yeah, where actually water comes in is from the roof. So if you have roofs that have not been changed and they should have been, this will start to seep into the house, and you will actually start to see it on the interior of the home. So another reason why it's really important to look at the condition of the roofing is because that's a big expense. And when you're looking at expenses and you're looking at what you're going to offer on a home, you need to think of all of these things on top of all the expenses you have by default when purchasing a home. So this can be actually either negotiated or taken consideration, because you can look at $10,000 or more for a roofing job to be done, and that could be on the table when it comes to negotiation with the seller. Either it be done by the seller or the price be reduced. So definitely work with your realtor to make sure that that is a consideration when you're actually making an offer on the home. So another really important aspect of a home has to do with windows. Windows are the area in the home where there's an extreme loss of heat, especially in cold countries like where I am in Canada. And you'll notice that the first signs that you will see in the winter will be actually condensation that will be developing on the bottom. And this can happen sometimes, it's not big alarm, but if you start to see this frequently, you'll know that there's a condensation buildup because of the heat and the cold that is occurring. And this could also mean that your window is not very energy efficient. So this is something to consider, because windows are, like I said before, a very big cost to you when you're heating your home in the winter or trying to cool it in the summer months. So when you're also visiting a home, look at the condition of the windows. Look at the outside framing. Does it look like it's degrading? You can also try the windows to make sure it doesn't seem like there's an issue with opening and closing. Is there any sticking points, or is it seeming very fragile? That is also another indication that the window has been there for a long time and it needs to be changed. And this could also mean that maybe they're all the same windows that have been there for years. So that's also a cost you need to keep in mind. And some windows are more costly than others because they could be a specific size or uniquely catered to a specific room that is not a traditional window. So that is definitely something to consider. So with windows as well, when you get close to the window, if there's really an air leak issue, you can actually get really close to it and listen in on it. And here, if you hear any whistling sounds, this will be an indicator that there is air escaping from the window, which is another reason why you don't want to keep that there for your hydro bills. So another aspect of a home that you absolutely should take a look at when you're going into a home for the first time and looking at the property is the foundation. The foundation is everything of a home. And a lot of the times it's big work when it comes to making repairs, and it's something that you really need to zone in on and focus when you're visiting the home for the first time. So a good indication of a homeowner that's been taking care of foundation is look at the parging around it. Are there patches of parging falling off, and just a clear indication of a lack of maintenance in that regard? Also, you want to make sure that you look for any cracks in the foundation. So there are different types of cracks, and I'm just going to break it down really quickly for you. But for the purposes of when you're doing a quick home inspection, and this by no means replaces an actual professional. So you really need to look at the directions that the cracks are in, how big and deep and wide the cracks are. Those are two main things when you're looking for if this crack is going to be something that you really need to be concerned. For instance, when you have vertical cracks that go straight up to down, that is not usually of a major concern, because those cracks happen when you just have a normal settling of the foundation over time. But when it comes to diagonal or horizontal cracks, oftentimes this will indicate that the home has settled in a wrong way, which could have long-term consequences depending on the gravity of the situation. So definitely look for those indicators when you walk around the foundation. So if there's a crawl space in the home, you absolutely want to go check it out. Crawl spaces could be a really good indicator as well if there was any water infiltration. A lot of the times when you have water infiltration in a crawl space, you're going to see mold buildup. And it's not necessarily something you would see with the naked eye just walking around, but you'll actually have to go in and check it out for yourself. So this is why you absolutely need an inspector, but if you have access and it's not too much of a hassle, I would highly recommend to go into the crawl space and check it out for yourselves. Another indication of foundation moving is when you look at the doors and their frames. Oftentimes when a home settles or shifts in a wrong way, you'll start to see some things on the inside of the home as well. For instance, you will have door frames that are out of plumb and shifted, and that'll cause difficulties when it comes to opening and closing doors. Sometimes it might not even close altogether. Or you may see countertops start to remove themselves or detach themselves slightly from the wall. This is because the foundation is moving, so the rest of the structure is moving with it. So some of these signs are not necessarily easy to spot, but if you pay attention, you can actually see how a foundation can really affect the inside, not only from the outside. So another reason why it is important to inspect the foundation is because your insurer will definitely ask you a lot of questions about it, especially related to water infiltration. Insurers really caution themselves, and they make sure that they ask specific questions to really diagnose a house and see if there's a higher risk for them to invest into insuring your home. So definitely don't neglect the foundation. It is an absolute must to look at when you're looking into a home that you're purchasing. So the next big concept here is electrical. When it comes to electrical, there's a lot to know, but let's just break it down to some simplified terms. When you go into the electric panel, you're going to need to check how many amps there are on the main breaker. That's really important because you may have 100, 200 or more, and you need to think about how much power you need to give to your home and what type of appliances and what needs you have. So if you're not sure, definitely get an electrician to look at that, but I highly recommend that you look and you check, because this will be something that will be asked when you're insuring your home. So an insurer will also ask something like, what type of wiring do you have in the home? So some of the wirings you need to be wary of is aluminum and non-tube wiring. Aluminum wiring is a little bit more difficult to identify, but you may see some little tags along the wiring if it's exposed in the basement, for instance, that will actually write aluminum on it. This was used in the past, in the earlier 1900s, but it's something that insurers don't like because there is a higher risk for them. So definitely take a look at that. So knob and tube wiring is the second thing you should look out for, and you should be able to see this when you're looking up in an unfinished basement, and you could see wiring actually going from one little ceramic tube to the next, to the next, to the next. So that'll be something that you can also really easily see. Don't necessarily need a trained guide to see it, but there's definitely a higher risk when you have not been tube wiring, something that was used in the past and is no longer allowed. So when an insurer is going to ask you that, you need to be able to tell them the truth, and this could also be a potential fallback when it comes to being insured. So definitely look at that as well. So another thing that you need to know about electricity is if it's fuses or breakers. But when it comes to fuses or breakers, you'll still see both of them quite frequently, but more so breakers, because that is what we use in the modern world now. And insurers definitely prefer to have breakers, depending on the combination of how many amps you have with the breakers or with the fuses. But what you want to know is which type of do you have in your panel, and you have to consider how many amps you have as well. So another really important thing to consider is the plumbing situation of a home. So what you really want to focus on here is to see what types of materials were used in the construction of the home regarding plumbing. So in the past, some of the things that you need to be aware of that may still linger today in homes is polybutylene and also galvanized steel, for two different reasons. Polybutylene has been proven to be more prone to leaking, and this is why you have insurers that are actually refusing altogether to insure you. And I'm not saying every insurer will have that, because every insurer has different criteria, but you need to know this. This type of material is prone to having slow leaks that can be in the walls that you may not see right away and can cause major damage. So definitely keep an eye on it. It'll usually be gray, and it'll be written PB with a serial number of some sort on it. So when it comes to galvanized steel, that's also something that an insurer will look at. Not all insurances will have an issue with this, but some will. And the reason is because of the degradation of the interior with rust over time, and this can also be prone to some health consequences over time for the consumer in the actual household. So if you'd like to see more videos about buying homes, I actually have a home buying series, and I'm going to link these two videos so you can actually check it out. And definitely feel free to subscribe if you like my content. It really encourages me, and it lets YouTube know that I'm doing a good job. So I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for watching.